Welcome, everyone. It's Mike Gibbs, Alonzo Coleman, and Chris Johnson. And we're here for the next episode of Head in the Clouds. My name is Michael Gibbs. I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Careers. Alonzo one day is going to be joining me, hopefully someday. And Chris is my chief operating officer. And we are really, really happy to be here with you tonight.
What's up, everyone? How's everyone doing today?
Hey, everybody, with me in my awkward wave. How's it going? I'm in a sweater today because I had to be professional earlier, and I have not changed back to my palm tree shirt. So
it's true. I did ask Chris to wear an actual button-up or a decent shirt. He usually wears his Florida Hawaiian thing. Chris is amazing, and we're lucky to have him. So, normally we talk about tech career secrets and tech career paths and tech career coaching and tech career advancement or how to get promoted in tech. We talk about cloud career coaching and cloud architect career paths and cloud architects versus cloud engineers, etc. But tonight we're going to talk about how to be successful. To some degree, we'll talk about how to be successful in life, in your relationships, in the gym. It doesn't matter. It's the same success factors to win. So we want to talk about it. So we'll talk a little bit about developing emotional intelligence because, for me, that's everything. We'll talk a little bit about how to influence others and influence leadership, and we'll talk about some leadership skills. So we're going to have a fun, lively discussion. I see Chow is there. Hopefully Chow has a blue wrench. Chow is one of my amazing students. Oh, wait, I just hired her. She is one of my amazing teammates who used to be one of my students, and I am so grateful to have Chow here.
Surprise!
Surprise everyone. So tonight we're going to have a great time. Talk about a few things. Chow, we're thrilled to have you here. Abigail with that blue wrench, thank you. Leo with that blue wrench. Leo's a senior manager of operations with us. And also we've got Chow there, and she's also. So thank you all so much. Tracy, Nate, good to see you. Robert, so nice to see you.
I love it.
And everybody, if we can get started, if we can start out with a hashtag cloud hired, on Monday,
hired.
3 of my students got hired, and that makes me elated. And so, start out with the cloud hired. That's why we do what we do. Look, there's no point in getting the certification if you don't get hired. So
can we get a congrats Chow as well? Hashtag?
What's that?
Can we get a congrats Chow hashtag as well?
Yeah, let's get a congrats Chow hashtag.
Oh, that's exciting. I wasn't expecting to drop that news today, but okay.
I saw Chow's blue wrench over there and something from Chow, and Chow's made me smile from the first class that she took when I saw her in class to the fact that I'm thrilled to have her here with us. So,
yeah. So, if you weren't expecting that, Chow, there you go. But all right. Well, before I take control of your show, Mike, is there anything else that you want to talk about or bring up before we get into things?
Yeah, actually, let me talk about a few things we have coming up to help you in your cloud architect careers, cloud engineering careers, or your career.
Whoa, hold on. Sorry, I got some. Boom! There we go, Nick.
My student Nick, congratulations, Nick. Nick, great job.
Nice, Nick.
I always love the great news. So it's Tuesday, and we've gotten
three people hired.
Three hires, and I know that there was someone else that said that they passed the certification yesterday.
Yeah,
so this is terrific Technical Tuesday.
That's and another one of our students who's been got hired as a cloud architect just passed an AWS certification because we got him hired without the cert.
Yeah, let's say that. Yeah, let's say that again. He got cloud hired without the certification, but now he finally got the certification.
Love it. Love it.
I have so many friends at AWS that went there. They had no certifications. AWS passed them. Say, here, we've got to get you certified. And they do it.
I love it.
All right. So I'll let you get back to what you were going to talk about, Mike.
So as we begin and as YouTube tells everybody about our fun night that we're going to have, a couple things I want to let you know. Next week, we're going to run an absolutely completely free AWS Certified Solution Architect Bootcamp. We're going to have a party. We'll be doing 20 minutes of discussion, 10 minutes of, questions and answers. There'll be labs of some kind. There'll be a way for you to get an amazing experience, and it's going to be 100% all free. And with that, we have a completely free AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional book that starts at ground zero. So you can use it for the cloud practitioner, although we don't ever recommend doing that. The Certified Solution Architect Associate and the Certified Solution Architect Professional, all in a book. And guess what? It is absolutely free. So we're doing that. So
We might have another surprise also, but you have to tune in to find out.
We may have some other great surprises, but you'll have to be there through the entire boot camp to find out. But there'll be lots of cool stuff for you. So there's that. On Thursday, we have our How to Get Your Free Cloud Architect job. You know, it's funny. There was a person that attended it 8 times, and I just noticed today that they got hired. So what do we talk about on that? You know, what hiring managers want, what needs to be on your resume. Person that attended that thing 8 times. I saw they got hired today, and I was dope. So, you know, anyway, people get cloud hired, I don't care. So join us on the completely free How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. And the last thing that I'll mention is we are celebrating, I can't even count how many people got cloud hired in the last year. I lost count once we got to like 100. So I don't even remember. So because of that, we have 30% off of every single one of our products and for the next 2 weeks. That includes our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, a one-stop shop to getting hired. That includes our Tech Interview Mastery Program, which is going to help you master the interview, assuming you're not in our program. And of course, if you're already working as a cloud architect and you want to be a distinguished cloud architect or a principal cloud architect or a VP or a CTO, we have our Tech Career Accelerator Program to take the working technology professional and get you to your goals. And that's on sale too. So Chris, let's actually get to the show. Now that I've done all my corporate housekeeping, paperwork, and all those things that a professional is supposed to do. Now let's get to the fun.
Yeah. So now that you brought up the fact that we've got got all the people that are getting cloud hired, I'm going to point out the fact that I can't get some of these people to call me back. They're so busy. So, you know, you all may have seen the videos that we've been putting up on the channel over the past couple of weeks. We're going to keep putting them out. Different success stories from different people that have taken part in the program. But I have to beg people on Slack to tell me when they've gotten hired. So I'm going to beg people on YouTube, if you've gotten hired, let me know so that I can talk to you and do an interview with you. So,
you know, it's funny. I just spoke to one of our students who got hired, who was from India, who moved to Canada. And when I called him today, and he's like, "Hey, Mike, I'm actually on vacation in India right now." I'm like, "Well, that's cool."
Yeah, that's one of the ones. At least he's getting back to me. That's the important part.
Yeah, got back to me from India. He said, "I'm having a party, Mike." I was like, "What can we do together?"
Yep. All right. So now, and like I said, now we'll take over the show and get on track here. As I've said in the emails and on social media, the topic of today's show, the main topic is going to be about what makes people successful, different traits and different practices, different skills that people implement in their lives to be successful in any regards. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But before we talk about that, and of course, we'll always take questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to share them. We may not take them immediately, but we will take them by the end of the show. But before we get into the main topic, we do want to talk about something else we thought would be an interesting discussion. And I'm going to let Mike lead off the discussion here. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about is, I guess you would call them consumer cloud services, like Microsoft 365 and Dropbox, Google Suite, Google Drive, G Suite, whatever they're calling it this year. The difference between what those services are versus what we're talking about when we're talking about cloud careers and cloud architecture and cloud services from an organizational standpoint. So I'm going to let Mike start off talking about that, and then we'll just kind of carry the conversation from there.
Yeah, and the only reason I wanted to briefly cover this is every day somebody says, "Hey, wait, I have Microsoft Office 365, my cloud engineer." Or they say, "Hey, Mike, I'm using Dropbox." Or they say, "Hey, Mike, I'm using Google Drive." Isn't that cloud computing? And technically, it is. I mean, so really, what is cloud computing? Really, it's just a data center and a network that somebody rents out to you. So these services that we're talking about that are cloud native services or cloud supported services like Zoom, a messaging app I use all the time. Zoom's hosted on AWS. Everything is run from AWS. When you use Zoom, you don't realize you're using the cloud, but you are. What about when your brother or sister wants to send you pictures of their cat? And they send them to you on Google Drive. And that's consumer services. And we use them all every day. In fact, we don't even realize we use them. Microsoft Office 365. Now here, we've got software as a service, but it's still cloud. In fact, most of what people think about when they think cloud are actually the software as a service things that the consumers know about. Dropbox, Google Drive. What they don't know is all the engineering and architecture that actually goes to making the cloud possible. So, for example, when we're dealing with this, your brother uses Google Drive, your sister uses Google Drive, that's there. They don't know what's behind it. They don't see the storage area networks behind it. They don't see, so they don't see the storage area networks. They don't see the regular IP network. They don't see the firewalls. They don't see any of it. So there. So, what I really wanted to bring about, and Alonzo, I'd love your perspective, and Chris, your perspective, each day when you use these things, do you even realize, well, I you guys do, but Chris, lots of people outside of the tech industry that even realize they're using the cloud?
Oh, wow. That's no, I don't think they do.
No.
They know they're using the cloud, but they don't know that they're using something that's as sophisticated as the cloud is. It's almost like this. I don't know what the term is. It's just like this mystic term of the cloud. Like, it's just like, it's the cloud. Like my first introduction to the cloud was, I think it was the Apple cloud or something with my
iCloud. The iCloud.
It was like it was in the cloud. I didn't know what the heck it was. Like, boom, it's in the cloud. Now I can't get it out of the cloud because I don't know my password.
And I'll tell you one thing, at least back when the Apple Cloud was invented, it was not running on Apple servers.
Yeah.
It was made by servers from a company in Texas. They were running all their servers, but it was not Apple servers.
Yeah, so I think that's most people's experiences with the cloud is it's in the cloud.
Yeah.
Hopefully I can get it back from the cloud.
And the worst problem we actually have is people think they can learn the cloud and then figure it out after the fact. Like, what if I just learn Google or AWS? Then I'm going to figure it out. Well, here's the problem. Now you know a name and how to configure something, but you have no concept of what it is. Here's what a cloud means. You don't understand. We used to call the cloud the internet. Frame relay was a cloud. Why? Look, we knew we had all these switches in this frame relay cloud, but you couldn't see the switches to the user. We'd create virtual circuits. Same thing with the VPLS cloud. Look, we've got a MPLS backbone. We're running intermediate systems. The intermediate systems is an IGP. Nobody knows. You turn on RSVP signaling, label switching, and all of a sudden we make tunnels. To everybody else, it was a cloud. Here's what you got. Here's an Ethernet port. Customers loved it. It's cloud. Here's your Ethernet port. Now, if somebody tried to learn that and then go back to try and figure out what made that cloud possible, it wouldn't be there. So you've got to learn the cloud first before you go there. Yeah. Because otherwise, it's like, hey, I just signed up for Dropbox. Guess what? So what? For a while, Dropbox was on AWS. Although the last I remembered, I saw a press release that they saved 87% by building a data center, not using AWS. But I haven't checked those statistics in a while.
So they did what now? They went off the cloud and did what?
Well, what happened is initially they used multi-clouds, then they used AWS as the cloud, and then they determined it was too expensive to use somebody else to store their things, so they built their own data center.
Okay, what type of people designed that data center?
Network architects, data center architects, the same cloud architect people. You can't do anything without knowing that network and data center.
Okay.
So somebody asked me, they said, hey, if I learn AWS first, will that help? And I'll say, no. You can learn that. We can then teach you the network and the data center. And we can go back and teach you AWS.
So that architect that works for Dropbox probably earns a pretty penny considering how much money they saved.
And why was it cheaper for Dropbox to build their own system than rent it out? Well, let's think about things from a finance perspective. I'm a landlord. I buy a house for $400,000. My carrying costs are $300 or $3,000 a month. Do I charge my tenant $2,000 a month and lose $1,000 a month? Or do I say my costs are $3,000 a month, I'm going to charge you $6,000? The business has to make money. The cloud can never be cheaper. Well, the cloud is cheaper under these circumstances. You don't have to build your network. You don't have to do any of this. But for Dropbox, if all they're doing is storage, it's cheaper than for them to build it themselves. Not that the cloud isn't great. The cloud's amazing. It's agile. But It's often cheaper for you to do your thing that you're an expert on, cheaper than hiring somebody else that's not an expert to do your thing. That's really the thing, is I want people to know they're using the cloud. It's there. All the cloud really means is it's hidden from you. So if you create a VPN, it goes across the internet. Do you know which router hops it is? No. The internet's a cloud. Now, if I was to do a trace route on the internet, and on this trace route, I went to router 1, and then hopped over to router 2, and then looked at the routing table and hopped over to router 3, I could build a really cool map. But unless I did that, it would just be a cloud to me. It'd be this big fluffy thing, and I have no idea what it is. So do I know, if I want to get Alonzo, you want to send your internet traffic to me, how's it get here?
You push a button.
Yeah, it just,
right. We know the technical term, how it gets there. But thinking about, I'm taking it back when we say the cloud, and, most folks just think it just goes up in the air like radio waves.
exactly.
But that's not the case. It's like, okay, you really got to understand what the cloud is. Even it's kind of it's not even a right term. It's not the right terminology to even use.
No.
So when you think about that,
it's one of those marketing terms that we always talk about.
Exactly.
Like Apple was great when they were like the iCloud.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, what cloud? What? And most people, when I ask them that, they literally look up in the air and they say, well, this is how it works. Or they even work, they don't know how it works. So that's an interesting thing to talk about. So
I mean, to be honest, when me and Mike when I'm putting things in Dropbox, I'm just like, click, drop, done. I don't care. I'm done.
Drop. And there's even this other one. It's called. Have you guys ever tried Hightail?
No.
Okay, it's the same. It's kind of like Dropbox. You put it in. You have a certain amount of data that you can put in before you have to start paying for it. You click and forget, and a lot of people just think, well, where does it go? Where'd my data go? Where is it being stored? And people need to understand that, it's not so much the cloud. It's, you have your data center, you have your networking, and being able to store it in a specific space without it just magically turning into the ether and just, not going anywhere. So,
yeah, it's true. I actually, it's sad. I interviewed about 1,000 AWS certified solution architect professionals, and not a single one of them even knew what the cloud was.
Yeah.
Because that's the cloudiness. We don't tell you what it is. It's just sort of here. It's just click this, and it magically scales until it doesn't, until it breaks, and you have no idea what it is. And that's the problem. If you don't know what it is, you don't know where it's going to break. If you don't know the performance capabilities, you don't know where it's going to break. So when you build an airplane, they know how fast that plane can go. And when you know what a race car can do, a sniper knows exactly the trajectory of his bullet or her bullet. They know. They can calculate for wind, humidity, elevation. They know. Temperature, all of it. And that's the key, is in the cloud. We just don't know. If I create a link aggregation group, ether channel, port channel with 4 10-gig links, I know I've got 40 gigs. I have no idea what AWS has in their backbone between their switches. Why does that matter? Well, if I need QoS, can I do it there? No. If all the customers decide to send all their data at full speed at the same time on a cloud, chances are the cloud's not set up to handle it. Does it matter under circumstances? No, not at all. Statistically, not everybody uses their data at the same time, but when it does, in the cloud, be aware, it will slow down.
We kind of learned that at the beginning of the pandemic.
Yep. That's what happens on a shared network. Now, people that had private 10-gig lines between them, they didn't slow down. People in the public internet, public clouds, yeah. But, hopefully we don't get to the situation where there's such a mass casualty situation where everybody's home in their house and they're all watching the internet all at the same time. And that will be okay on all the good cloud providers because they're built really well.
No single points of failure.
No single points of failure. Hey, is it getting into success factors of life? No single points of failure.
No single. That sounds like that might be a good hashtag acronym. No single points of failure. Sounds like that might be something we can put together, maybe.
NSP, NSPOF. I don't know.
Oh God, no acronyms, please.
No acronyms. Hashtag NSPOF.
I actually went to a meeting. One time about 10 years ago, and I was with one of the senior executives that says, "Go with me." And I was in the meeting, and we needed some engineer that was really, really smart to tell us something. And I've got these two executives, and I got a whole executive team behind me. And the engineer is spouting up, and they're like, "Mike, what's he saying?" I'm saying, "He's saying what he'd like to do is this, this, and this." And then the engineer goes, and I'm like, "What he's really saying is he can do this in 48 hours. Assuming nothing goes wrong." This is now what he's saying is he wants a candy bar. Let's get him a candy bar. Let's buy him a good dinner. Let's make the guy happy. But yeah, I literally think half of my life was literally translating between engineers speak and business people speak, and nobody understood each other. So it's good to know both worlds. Most of my career was met as a translator. You'd think it would be translating English to Greek or Spanish to English, but no, it was translating tech to English. Tech people to executives, and executives that had all these great ideas and things they needed to do with the officially smart people that knew how to do it. Getting that communication is huge. But, no single points of failure. That's a success factor in everything. I want you to think about it. Would you want to go to a car that didn't have an emergency brake just in case the primary brakes failed? Would you want to go in an airplane that has one engine and it fails? I wouldn't.
Right.
Do you want one internet service provider in your house if there's going to be a hurricane? I don't.
Yeah.
What if you only have one friend and they're busy? You're alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about if you go outside your house, your car breaks down? Is that good? And you don't have a spare tire. So I think success factor for life is 1. 1 is none, 2 is 1, and 3 is greater than 2. Now, Chris has actually seen my house, and my wife takes this a little bit to the extreme. So when the pandemic happened, we had 500 pounds rolls of toilet paper within the first 24 hours. I don't know how. We picked up 40 or 50 bags of dates, figs, and apricots within 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
My wife brought about 400 more pairs of shoes in case they stopped manufacturing them. And I stocked up on all my supplies that I thought would be necessary if the world was challenging.
I love it.
And the things that I purchase are slightly different than my wife purchases. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, all right. Well, we're getting away from our topic of discussion here. So.
Well, we're having fun.
Eating figs, man.
Yeah, I don't know how we got from iCloud to figs and toilet paper, but apparently that's the route that we're going today.
It's fun.
Our routing table must have been messed up. I don't.
I've had a lot of corrupted routing tables in my life.
So somebody asked in the chat box about the timings for the boot camp. So next week, our boot camp will be Tuesday through. Normally we do them through Saturday, but with it being Easter weekend, we might try to wrap up on Friday. We're going to try. We don't know yet, but 12 p.m. Eastern time will be the start time each day. And it usually lasts for about 3 hours. Sometimes it might go a little bit long, but it's usually because of questions. So anyway, so now that we're back on topic and not talking about figs and toilet paper anymore, let's any last words that either one of you would like to share about consumer cloud services?
I think we briefly touched it. I think the real key was for most people to know that, look, we use it every day. It's part of our lives. So when you work in the cloud and people ask, what is it? And you say, hey, is it Google Drive? Say, no, that is some component of cloud computing where people store things. What I do is I make the technology possible for you to have a web application, for you to be able to do anything that you need to on the internet. I enable businesses to be more profitable. I enable business to operate their HR systems, their employee systems, their payroll systems, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I basically solve customers' problems with technology.
Alonzo, you want to throw anything else on there before we get to the heavy hitting topics?
He said it all. I want to jump to the heavy hitting stuff. That's what I'm looking for.
All right. So, okay, Mike, you got something else to throw in there before we go, or?
No, we go. I know where I'm going to start, and I'm going to sound like a broken record on a few things, and Alonzo's going to have some good input and probably agree with me on one of them. He'll have a different perspective on another one.
Yeah, so that's why I'm not going to start with you, Mike. I'm going to start with Alonzo.
Let's start with Alonzo.
All right, what's the question? Shoot it.
So the topic, it's a very general question. It's the, sorry, I got birds flying in the window, like trying to hit the freaking windows on either side of me. That's why I think one time you saw me back away from the window. They're literally flying out the window. I don't understand. But so it's a general question about what makes people successful. I know I've got some ideas on what makes people successful, and I know each of you have ideas. So I want to keep it simple, and then we'll grow from there. So let's keep it simple. Mike, this is for you also. Keep it simple.
This is so philosophical, and trying to keep this simple, Mike. It's going to be.
I know it's going to be tough.
I'm trying to keep it on track. So if you could, Alonzo, share with us what are only two.
You're being stingy today.
I'm starting at 2. We'll go on. What would you say are 2 of the most important things that successful people have in common?
I would say the first thing is altruism. Being able to give of yourself to help others. That is how you lead from the front. Instead of telling people what they should do, empower them to do it themselves. Create an opportunity for them to provide their ideas, experiment on those ideas, be able to hone those ideas through effective leadership so that they can see that their opinion matters, their work matters, that they are just valuable as a whole. Because anyone can get a sled dog. Anyone can tell you where to go, left, right, or whatever. But you have these people on your team for their innovative ways, for their experiences, for their skill set. So that's one thing. The next thing is, I would say, humility. Not everyone knows everything. I can't be my best if I rely only on myself. I need a bunch of people, the developers. I don't do the developing. I don't do the DevOps. I don't do the maintenance for sysadministration. I don't do those things. It's architecture that is my focus. So I cannot be everywhere at once. I have to be humble enough to understand that I don't know these things. I need to provide leadership by saying, I'm going to empower you to do X, Y, and Z because you are better at this than I. So trying to keep it short because I know I can go on and on and on. But
keep going. I love these.
No, this is good. Keep going, Alonzo. This is actually good content. So it's not going to all just sound like mine.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's just, so I wanted to present those 2. So I'm going to pivot back to altruism. I really believe in giving back. I think that is its own reward in a lot of ways. So if you say, for instance, you're starting, or rather you're the cloud architect, senior cloud architect for this department. You have a junior coming on ramping up, onboarding. That's their first cloud job. That's their first experience in an environment. What do? Just heap everything on them, let them figure it out for themselves, or you create an empowering environment of saying, this is how we do things. What do you know? What would you like to do? What are your experiences? Are you good at this or what? And we want to start with those strengths and empower them to work on what they really know how to do, what their passion is, being able to strengthen not weaknesses, which I don't like calling them, but challenges, things that they don't know don't know how to do yet. Being able to bring them on board, encourage them to experiment, to be able to quote unquote fail up, if you will, and learning from their mistakes, learning from what they don't know, so that they would they be able to learn in this environment and saying, you're not going to be penalized for not knowing this, but we're going to encourage you to be strengthened in these areas because we work as a team. And when you start pouring in what you know into someone else who doesn't know that, so that they themselves can pour that knowledge into someone else, it's a beautiful thing. I mean, as everyone knows, it's happening here. It's happening here in Google Cloud. I don't know why I keep saying that. Oh my gosh, keep thinking about it. Go Cloud Careers it's the community is just awesome. You think about all the things that we've learned. When I first got here, it was a phenomenal experience. I didn't know much. I didn't know much at all because, as Mike pointed out, I started on AWS instead of working on the agnostic cloud. So I had to reverse engineer everything that I knew and be able to apply it as an agnostic cloud so that I can apply and say, ding, ding, this is what elastic this, elastic that means, because Mike established that foundation overlaid over what I already knew. So getting back to the altruistic piece, give of yourself, share of yourself, show people what you know that don't know it, be able to create that community, be able to create that open door so that not only are you successful as a leader, they're going to be successful as a team member. And no one is going to lose in that situation. So based on that, you're going to have a humble attitude by by opening and offering yourself as a leader to be able to help others and being able to not come to any environment, whether you're a senior or whether you're a junior or whether you're running, it doesn't matter what it is. Being able to be humble in your experience, humble in your leadership, humble in your knowledge, being able to present yourself in an open door policy and say, how can I help? Is going to be a very powerful positioning for anyone who wants to be successful. Let me know if I'm wrong. I want to hear from you guys because this is what I've learned myself on both sides of the coin. And that's how it helps me to, help me to go from different levels.
I'm going to run with a couple of yours real quick, Alonzo, before I start thinking of mine. Okay. I will say this. Early in my career, in my first tech job, here's what I did. I was hired, and my manager says, Mike, we need one CCIE on the team. He says, Cisco will give us like 10% off of our service contracts, which is like $50 million. So if you can get CCIE certified, it's going to save us like $5 million. So you want to go pass this exam? And I was like, yeah, because I was thinking, I'm going to save him $5 million. I'm going to be asking for $1 million of it. At least that was the business case that went through my head at the time. It didn't work out that way, but that's what I thought. So I said to my manager, I said, this is pretty expensive. I said, I'll rent routers every Friday and Saturday. Can I get some of the routers from the lab? And he deposits 12 to 20 routers on my desk. I get a couple of UPSs and I plug these things in. Here's what my room sounds like. Fans. I mean, it was ridiculous. Here's what I noticed. I started playing with things and I started to learn stuff really well. And hey, everybody, let's learn BGP in Mike's cube. Half of the flare was in my cube. Everybody, let's do PIM sparse mode in Mike's cube. Next thing I realized, about 2 months passed. Now, all I was doing was teaching. My manager comes up to my desk and he says, hey, Mike. He says, I haven't seen you do any assignments, but the team's performance is up 300%. Do you know anything about that? Does it have anything to do with all those people in your cube and that jet engine sound? I'm like, as a matter of fact, Devendra, it does. I've been teaching people. They're all doing a better job. But here's the interesting thing. So that was there. I joined Riverstone a few months later, and I started tutoring people because I did. And I was there for 1 week, and they announced a 30% layoff. And I got a call from a manager, and he said, you're so valuable in what you're doing. You've helped so many other people already. You're staying. Now get back to work. And I went, huh? When I was in nursing school, for example, and this is why I feel like that altruism is there. What happened is my wife and I saw some people that were struggling to pass. And we started tutoring them. We told nobody. I told nobody. My wife told nobody. We just did it because it was the right thing to do. couple of years later, I wanted to go to graduate school. I asked the professor who used to be the director of the nursing program, would you give me a referral to Temple University? And she says, no, Michael. I said, what? She says, you're too good. She said, they only do adults. You need to do family. She says, I'd like you to come to Widener University and talk to us. And I said, but Shirley, I don't have money for Widener. It's a private school. And she says, come talk to me. I show up the next day. There was a full scholarship that was waiting for me.
Oh, that's awesome.
And, you know, I've helped people because it's the right thing to do. I always try and help people.
Yes.
But it seems like every time I try and help somebody, it ends up helping me anyway. Not only do I feel good, because every time I help somebody, I feel good. Everybody gets cloud hired, I feel good. Why do you think we have a $50,000 course for $600, $700? Why? Because I feel good every time somebody gets hired. And so does Chris, and so will you, and so does Chow, and so does Leo. That's why I do it, because it makes me feel good. So
Yes.
I think altruism is the start of everything good. I really do.
It is. It is. I just want, thank you, Ruth. I appreciate, but it's from the experiences, Ruth. It is what I've been taught is what sometimes people say, experience is a great teacher, but I think observation is one as well.
Mm-hmm.
You can watch what people do. It's not what they say, it's what they do, and how you're able to imprint what their actions are, be able to assess that. How is it applicable to my life? How is it applicable on the whether it's at work for your career or whether it's in your personal life? And it always comes back to me giving. I get by giving. If you know, it's an amazing dynamic when I'm able to give and share and say, you know what? When someone introduces themselves on LinkedIn or someone introduces themselves on the Slack channel, and they say, "Can you be my mentor? Can you assist with this and can you assist with that?" I don't take it as a compliment. I take it as a responsibility.
Yes.
It makes you feel good, and I'm glad that people think of me as that. But I take it very seriously because what I say and what I do not say or can't say can very well turn them further into the cloud or turn them off completely. And my responsibility as being a member of this team is to ensure that you have the right tools, the right accessibility, the encouragement to do a well job that we, Mike and Chris and I and Leo and Child now can understand that we know you can do this. It's not about if, it's a matter of when.
Yes, that's the key.
Focus on what you want to do here. Focus on it. Ask questions. Reach out. If you don't see it now, this community is here for you. It wraps its arms around everyone here. And being able to add to that and it's just like a big treasure chest of community money. And you just throw your coins in because at the end of the day, everyone's going to win. Cloud hired. Everyone's getting hired. Everyone's learning more about the cloud. No matter where I came from a creative marketing background, and the gentleman that I just met on LinkedIn, he came from one as well. And he says, I empathize because I was right where I came from the same environment. I came from the same background. So being able to speak to that, I just get real encouraged because I love being here. I love working with Mike. I love working with Chris. It's so enriching, be able to learn this stuff, help people at the same time. It's just, there's no words for it. So, because I know Chris is looking at me because he's telling me kind of like, you're done.
What Chris and I were both thinking is TATA, which Chris put up the screen, Cloud Heroes Africa.
Yes.
Now that's something I'm really proud of. 50 of our people are part of this organization and we teach. I go teach as often as I can. I speak to Samoa constantly. I called Samoa on Friday or Saturday night last night and I said, hey, next week we're having the free CCNA bootcamp. Make sure every one of your students is there. So yeah, TATA, this is a project that we're really, really passionate about. I also work with my good friend Benjika No, who's also in Cameroon. Well, he doesn't live in Cameroon anymore. He's now in Belgium with other work, and it means so much. So whether we're doing this here or whether we're doing free certification training or giving out free books, that's why, because we really want to help people.
Well, and the beauty of that is that no offense to you, Mike or Alonzo, but you're not doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys doing what you did encouraged the other people in our community to do what they're doing with Cloud Heroes Africa.
Exactly. And I pop in once a week. Chris Fernando from our team leads it. He's got all of our students. I see Abigail's there. I see Chal's there. I'm pretty sure Ruth and Tracy have been there just by some people that I'm looking at. I could go on. There's 50 of us. But yeah, just things like that. You know, how can you not feel good at the end of the day? And every time one of Samoa's students says something nice to me, or, you know, I was given the name Nukafor. I mean, I'm taking it with it. I'm putting it on my LinkedIn profile. I was so proud and be honored to be given that name. It meant something to me. It brought me to tears. And when Samoa called me, he uses that. So, you know, these are kind of things, but going out there. Now, you know, Alonzo, I will say there's one thing for me that I think has gotten me successful. And, you know, it's not something most people talk about. So there's an expression that says the only easy day was yesterday. And I know you know where that's common. To me, that is the most critical success factor of anything. And here's the reason why. I have trained and coached people for 20 years. And let me tell you, it's never the smartest that gets to the top. Mm-hmm. It's never the person that went to the best university that went to the top. It's the person that is willing to grind it out and work and work and work until they succeed. You can't keep that person down.
No.
I told Alonzo, and I know Alonzo, I call Alonzo my brother for a reason. We are very similar in almost every way. If I tell Alonzo that there's something at my house that he wants, and he's going to have to walk as a bear crawl from Houston, Texas to Palm Beach, Florida, he's going to do it. And I know no matter how bad his hands and knees are bleeding along the way, he's going to get there because his mind won't quit. So, but I'll tell you, for me, when I left medicine, everybody was like, Mike, you're crazy. You can't being a network engineer. I said, what do you mean I can't be a network engineer? Right. You can't do it. You need special degrees for that. You got to start at help desk and work your way up. And I said, I don't want to start at help desk. I said, there's great, honorable people that can help this, but that's not my goal. I'm going from internal medicine to being networking, and that's all I want to do. Everybody laughed at me. When I locked myself in a room for 4 days and became a CCNA, they still laughed at me. They're like, you can't do that. I'm like, huh? And then I said, I'm going to be a CCNA in 10 days. And they said, you can't do that either. And I was. And then when my manager told me, you need to be the lead architect, guess what? Thank you so much, Tata. When that name was so meaningful to me, he got me to stop even being able to get my sentence together. So because that's how much it means to me. So, you know, keep going, you keep going. And, I had this kid, Mitchell. Mitchell wanted me to train him a while ago. He was a goofy kid. And here's what I said to the Mitchell. I said, here's what you need to do. I said, if you do 100 pull-ups with 45 pounds around your waist, 100 dips with 45 pounds of raise, and you do 200 deadlifts with 135. He only weighed 135 pounds at the time. And I said, then you're going to run 4 miles. If you do this without stopping, I'll train you. You know what? 100 pull-ups later, 3 at a time with the 45-pound plate, 3 dips at a time, grinding it out. 3 hours later, he's on that treadmill, and he's still running. And I'm like, stop, you made it. He said, what? I only have another mile to go. I said, it wasn't the point. I wanted to see if you weren't going to quit. Well, I took this kid over. While in his first year of high school, we became a CCNA. While he was in college, he became a CCNP. I taught him executive presence, executive communication, leadership skills, etc. 2 months later, he was a senior product architect. 2 years later, he was a senior product architect at one of the best technology companies in the world. Promotion. By the time he was 24 years, he was at the top. But I'll tell you one thing about him. He was mentally strong. So strong that one time I had to tell him not to be. So one day this guy was studying and he forgot to eat. Well, he was hungry, but he didn't have time to eat. So he passed out because he didn't eat. That's how hard he studied, but that's why he got to the top. I will tell you the story of me when I was training with some very special elite martial arts warriors in Israel, because I was invited because I've been a martial arts expert my whole life. I hurt my foot to the point where I couldn't walk for basically 7 years. Anyway, 8 hours of physical therapy in the day. Every doctor I went to, morphine pump. I'm like, I can't take pain meds. If I take pain meds, I won't have the energy to go to physical therapy, and you're going to turn me into a drug addict. No pain meds. So 8 years of pain, 8 hours a day of physical therapy. Guess what? 2 years later, I'm running this company doing things that I love. So hard work beats talent when talent doesn't try. And for me, one of those critical success factors is never quitting until you win. Here's the thing. You build your plan. You execute on that plan. And I'm going to tell you right now, anything good doesn't come easy. Mm-hmm. So Whether you're in an MBA program, and Chris, me, and Alonzo have done it, there's a point in there where you said, enough is enough. I don't want any more of this.
Mm-hmm.
And you kept going. During my CSIE, oh my God, I was reading 1,000 pages a day every day for 6 months straight. Do you know how many days I said, I don't feel like reading anymore. I just want to go to sleep? That, like Alonzo says, there's no plan B. When failure is not an option, you just go for it until you win. So that's one of mine.
I love it. I love it. What about you, Chris?
Hey, he only gave one. He still got to give a second one.
Okay, I'll give you another.
Oh, yeah. You can't.
I will tell you the next thing is empathy.
Yes.
Oh my God, what a difference empathy makes. So, 2 days ago, my neighbor comes and yells at me because he doesn't like the way my landscaper is cutting my grass. No,
Your grass.
My grass. Yeah, apparently when they cut my grass, it blows a couple of blades of grass and a little things towards his house. It hit a rock. I don't know. So he said this to me, and he's complaining about my landscaper. And the first thought that I had was, let me prescribe him an antidepressant because he's got psych issues, and I'll give him some medication. Guess what? It won't be a problem. And as soon as I offered to examine him and prescribe him some medication, or at least I thought about it, I said, well, maybe that's not the best approach. And I said, could you tell me why this is so problematic for you? Because, I want to help. And all of a sudden he melted. It was fine. But the point is, every day, so, when I was a paramedic, I got to see things that were ridiculous. The things people do to try and hurt themselves, the things people do would be just nuts. But you can't make a judgment on someone. We're not in the position. We don't know their life or how they got there. I don't know. Anybody can have good things or bad things happen to them. Anybody can have a friend. They get in the car with a friend. Their friend does something crazy, and we're guilty by association, and we don't even know. I got into a car one time. This guy starts drinking while he's driving. I'm like, you need to get out. He says, no, Mike, we're almost there. And I said, well, next stoplight, I got out. I said, I'll call a taxi. I'm going to get there. I don't do this. So, there's that. But, emotional intelligence. And the other thing is really talking to people and really communicating.
Yeah.
How many things that go wrong are really the result of miscommunication? Seriously? 90% of interpersonal conflicts are miscommunication. And, we're people. We're not machines. I tell my architects, don't use any of these auto discovery tools because they won't work, because they're machines. I'd like to use AI to write my content for me, but it doesn't work right. I'd like to use AI for lots of things, but it's just not there. It's there. So, what makes us successful is the ability to relate to people, to build teams of people. If Go Cloud Careers was just Mike Gibbs, it'd be good. But with Chris, it's great. With Chow, it's greater. With Leo, it's even greater. With you, Alonzo, it's the greatest. The point is it's not one person. One person is only so good on their own. It's the combination of the people that make everything great. So, it's that. I like to say this. I like to be the dumbest guy in the room. At least I try.
Yeah.
I would like everybody in the room to be smarter than me.
Yeah.
I just want to be the guy with the credit card that buys dinner, if that's possible. It doesn't work out that way most of the time, but that's the guy I want to be. I want to be the guy that buys dinner, gets all the best and brightest minds in the world to collaborate and invent the best thing. That's me. I learned that very early in my career. Be a master of your destiny. Mm-hmm. Be really great at your thing, but not someone else's. And right. I'm put a social media post out here because I keep getting asked by software engineers. They keep saying, if you don't teach people how to code, how can you create a cloud architect? And I say, but cloud architects don't code. And they say, I know they don't code, but how can you design a system if you don't know how to code? And I say, well, I used to practice medicine. I didn't start using drugs so I could treat drug addicts. I said, oh, if I hire a lawyer, I don't look for the lawyer that's been in prison.
Yeah.
I said, you know what? Airplane pilots don't become expert at what flight attendants do. And if they did, they wouldn't have the training time on the plane. And so I say, why would being good at somebody else's career make you good at yours? And it never will. It never will. Now, there's some things that'll make you better. I am not a software engineer. I've been an architect for 24 years, which means I have never coded because architects don't code. So if I need coding done, would I try and figure it out? Or would I find the best coder I possibly can anywhere in the world and use them? I'm going to use the best. So, yeah, another thing about successful is, a jack of all trades is a master in none. And, things that are designed to do everything well don't do anything well. And that's okay. Look, if I'm going to go out in the wilderness, I want to know which plants are safe to eat. I want to know how to make a fishing pole out of nothing. I want to know how to use a bow and drill and make fire. I want to know how to tap trees. I need to be able to make a structure. But, if we don't live in the wilderness, we're not in a position where we have to be almost good enough at everything to survive. We're in a position where if you can be a fighter pilot, you're a fighter pilot. I want that fighter pilot being a fighter pilot. I want my lawyer practicing law, not medicine. Chances are my lawyer doesn't know much about medicine. And you know what? If I had to build a hotel from scratch, I'd ask Chris because he knows how to do it. No, I wouldn't expect Chris, who's opened hotels from concept to opening, to be an expert at hammering nails in, to be an expert with cement, to be an expert with drills. Now, Chris may know how to do that because he might like it. But Chris, when you deployed large-scale hotels from beginning to the time they opened their doors, were you doing any construction work?
It depends. If it had to be done, yes.
Okay.
Only if it absolutely had to be done. But I didn't know what I was doing if I had to do it. It was just like, okay, I got to figure this out. But I did not train to lay tile. I did not train to install electrical. I made things happen. That was
exactly.
My job was to make things happen and bring things to completion. My job was to walk into the unfinished bathroom that's just gotten sheetrocked and say, you know what? That electrical junction box is in the wrong location because it's supposed to be down here. Oh my God, how many have they done like this?
Exactly.
so that's what I did. And, it's the same thing. I've got a friend that's an architect, like a building architect.
Yeah.
He doesn't know anything about, I'm sure he knows something about masonry, but he doesn't know how to do the concrete work or do the electrical work or do the plumbing work. If I asked him, he'd be like, what are you talking about? I know how to draw these things. I know what the codes are. I know what the XYZ is, but I don't know. We pay people to do this. I'm not that guy.
Yeah. So. Yeah. It's kind of like that. You got to be good at your thing. Alonzo, you're in marketing, or at least you were for a little while. Did you carry your designs to the magazines where the advertisements were going to be?
No.
You didn't fly everywhere manually and do it all yourself?
No. Yeah. You think about, like, say, for instance, like, okay, you have the copy, the person who creates all the written communication in the commercial, in the ad, or whatever. You have the graphic artists, you have the web designers, you have all this stuff. And it's like, okay, no, you can't do all of this stuff because if you try to do it, you will go mad, and it's the same thing. Like, it's like, okay, so how are you going to do, if you understand DevOps and all the steps, it's continuous, integration, continuous delivery. Are you going to do all that observation? Are you going to push all that code, create the code, push the code, monitor the code, test the code, run the code, check the code for improvements, and then do it all over again? Are you going to sysadmin all the stuff that they need spun up so that they can do A/B testing, blue and green testing, XY testing? Are you going to do all that after you architect everything, and then you're going to spin it all up and pay for it too in the data center? You can't do all of this.
Yeah, like exactly.
You said, you have to focus on what you want to do and focus and execute. No plan B. Do what you need to do. Show some humility for yourself and say, I don't know how to get here. This is what I need to do.
Speaking of how to get here,
and then I'll bring you back to another one.
How did we get here?
Yeah.
How did we get here?
I don't know. We have such good conversation. It's just there's so much.
But I'm serious. Like I know. Like honestly, I don't remember what quality Mike was talking about. but I know it was a good one. He was talking. He talked about. We were talking about communication.
Yeah.
No.
I've got two more when we get finished this topic, so just don't let me forget.
All right. So Alonzo's were altruism and humility.
Yes.
Mike's was empathy and communication.
And never quitting.
Never quitting. That's the one he started.
Hard work.
Yes.
Grit.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, I also, when I was younger, so I spent a lot of time at my uncle's house, and my uncle was a master sergeant from the Marine Corps. So he had alternative plans for me. So every day between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m., for the most part, we basically just did Marine Corps PTs. So here's what I learned about these two things that were helpful in my career. Well, after they would get my heart rate up, my uncle would ask me to do something which required detail. And every time it wasn't perfect, I would hear this attention to detail. Lack of it will get you killed in war. And I'd say, but I'm not at war. And he'd say, attention to detail, it will improve everything in your life. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not Mr. Detail oriented, but I sure try as hard as I can be, because loss of that focus, there was that. And he taught me one other thing. He taught me to build a plan. He taught me to build a backup plan. And then my uncle said, when all else fails, adapt, improvise, and overcome, but never quit and never leave a man behind. And those two things were rules that I tried to live by. I try to pay attention to details. It'll save your life. When you have a conversation, you look at someone, you can read their body language. It'll give you much more communication. Otherwise, when you're in a neighborhood and something doesn't look right and you're paying attention to details, you don't get attacked because you know to cross the street when you need to cross the street. So, and when you're doing an architecture and you take a big picture and you look at the details, guess what? Things don't break. So there's kind of that. Now let's go back to Chris. Chris, what kind of perspectives do you have?
Oh, is that a little self-control there, Mike? All right. I mean, 2 turns into I don't know.
They were good, right?
Mike's
I don't know how many he gave up.
I was on a roll.
I was right. The more you kept talking, the more I kept running out of. So mine. So my qualities that make people successful probably come from failure. Because I had a lot of opportunities to do that. So I would follow up on your communication. And I don't know if you actually brought up communication or if I just heard that because I was thinking about communication. But
I addressed it tangentially with another form of communication.
Okay, all right. So, but I think more direct than communication is listening. Because, like you said, you did talk about communication. Because, like you said, the majority of mistakes are because of some form of failure to communicate effectively. But listening to what people have to say is probably one of the things that I could have done better in my past. And if I had done it better, I would have had a lot more successes. And that's something that I'm able to take advantage of now. But of course, that comes with experience. It's important to, when I say listening, I'm talking generically, of course, but if you're a manager, listening to the people that work for you and what they actually have to say, whether it be you talking, them sharing information about difficulties that they're having with their position or with an assignment, actually listening to what they have to say. A lot of people, myself included in the past, can be closed-minded when people come to us with difficulties. And so if you're not listening to what they actually have to say, and it's cliche, but there's a big difference between listening and hearing.
Very true.
Very true.
And I mean, it's almost to the point, like me personally, I have to take notes. If I don't take notes, I'm not listening. Whether it be on the computer or it be on my notepad, if I don't write something down either right then or right after that conversation,
I do it too. Yeah.
I might have been listening, but I'm got so much going on that I forgot it, that I'll forget it. 15 minutes later, it's gone. So a big part of listening is documenting what you're listening to and what you're hearing. Because if you don't write it down and do something about it, did you really listen?
Yeah. My wife says the same.
So I'm sure I told you it comes from experience that I'm saying this. I'm sure my parents would definitely say the same.
My wife's awesome. Yeah,
but yeah, so listening is a big thing, and not just, and also from not just employees that may work under you, but people that you report to in your role. Listening to what they're telling you, what they're sharing with you, can lead to a lot of benefits. Yeah. We all know that people aren't the most direct in communication, but if you listen effectively, you'll get some gold nuggets, no matter who you're dealing with. And a part of listening is being able to find those little golden nuggets and continue digging on them. Yeah. Whether it be a problem that you're solving or an opportunity that you're trying to get more information about. So that's one of my two. I'm going to stick to two, Mike.
Okay. I'm
going to stick to two. That's one. I'm going to stick to two. So I got one more. I'm not going to be like Mike and go with 5.
You may have more.
I know he's got more. I'm going to give you my second one, and then we'll go back to Mike. So the other one that I have is, and you I think you kind of briefly hit on it, but I'm going to go a step further on it. It's a couple of things all wrapped into one, but they end up in the same thing. Scheduling, knowing your limitations, being able to build plans, being able to stick to plans, making commitments and sticking to them, acknowledging when you're not able to in a timely manner, and figuring out how to resolve the fact that you can't. Yeah. It actually, all of this boils down to one word, and it might seem like a too big of a word for this, but it's definitely fits. It's honor. And you can't take honorable actions if you don't make commitments.
Right.
And you can't make commitments if you don't know your limitations and are able to schedule and take on obligations appropriately. Again, these come from experience that I'm talking about these. You talked about it earlier, Alonzo, failing up. My experience in hotel operations started by literally being put in a place that had no management structure. So I failed up from the very beginning, and I got to learn a lot of these experience, a lot of these lessons by failing, but ultimately, leading to success through the failures. But the honor and sticking to your word, follow through. Like I said, I'm saying a lot of key phrase, like catchphrases right now, but there's no other way to describe it. I don't think it is following through on your commitments. And if you're not able to follow through, acknowledging that you're not able to instead of ignoring it.
Right.
Because if you just ignore it, it's going to fail anyway, and you're going to be left with the situation and egg on your face, and it's not going to be a good. But if you acknowledged it, it'd be a completely different story, because if you acknowledge it, then you can resolve the situation. A big example of this right now is with this whole Great Resignation thing. It's not just the resignation part. Like my wife, who is also in the hotel industry, deals with this on a daily basis of people that commit to job interviews and don't show up, period. No contact, no nothing. So everybody brings up this idea of a great resignation. I don't know what it is. It is not just a great resignation. It's a great lack of commitment.
Yeah.
And it's so concerning seeing that it's perfect. In one day, my wife's company at one location, their corporate office had personally called and arranged for over 40 people to show up for interviews. The corporate office, the people that are getting paid the big bucks, had called and gotten commitments from people to show up for interviews. Not a single one showed up.
Wow.
It's really hard hiring good, capable people. So for the people that do these things, they're going to stand out.
Yes, they are. And I mean, it's whoo-wee. All right, I'm not going to go on this soapbox because the commitment and honor thing is just it's so frustrating. And like I said, I don't have the best track record, but I learned from it.
Yeah.
I was a 20-year-old who had to learn the hard way that these things mattered. And now I'm able to talk about it. I got plenty of examples of where I might not have done things the right way, but I learned from them, and that's the important thing. So those are my big two things to start off with. There are many others, including some of the ones that you guys have already said, but communication, listening, and then honor and commitment and follow through. Those are my two big things.
And after Danka's question, I'm going to add one. And
Okay.
It's a really good question.
So do you want me to take that and then go to you, or
bring the question up,
okay,
and then I'm going to address the question up because it's a really great question. And it was one of the things that I had on my list to cover.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yes.
So Danica said, would you say that by respecting others and finding ways to avoid blaming others, even though they're responsible for the individual, is a good trait for successful people? So two things, Danica. And
I got input on this too.
And good. I'm going to tell you two things. So I will tell you one thing. About 10 years ago, I was working at a really good technical company, and one of the engineers on a proof of concept offended the customer. So one of the VPs at Cisco said, hey, Mike, what went on? Whose fault was it? And I said, it was my fault. And my manager said, wait, or the VP said, how's it your fault? You didn't say anything offensive. I said, I'm the leader. I said, obviously, I was not in control in that moment. I didn't see what was going on around me, and I was not able to fix it as it was occurring. So it's my fault. You know what the VP said to me? He said, congratulations, you're moving up. And I said, what? He said, the trait of a good leader is to know that you are responsible for your team. If it's your mistake, you take credit for it. Never blame others. And I said, you know what, Mike? When your team doesn't perform well, you still cover for them because you are the front person. You have the most gravitas. You have the most executive presence. The customer trusts you the most. You're the owner. So yes, Dan, can never blame everyone. And I'll tell you, the least successful people I know are the ones that find every excuse why they're not successful. Right. I can't be successful because I have no hair. I can't be successful because I'm fat. I can't be successful because they only hire people with master's degrees from Harvard. So, that's really important, ownership and not blaming others. Chris, I'm going to go back to you and then Alonzo. You're muted, Chris.
Sorry. I wish there was hotkeys for this software. Because I hate using a mouse. It's like I just want a hotkey. I don't want to have to find the button. But I was saying, it's been a while since Alonzo's had an opportunity to speak on these. So I'm going to let Alonzo talk about this question that she brings up, and then I'll share my bit as well.
I want to read that out because where she pointed, I want to say it out loud so that everyone can take in and digest what Danica said. Would you say that respecting others and finding ways to avoid blaming others, even if they are responsible for the issue, is a good trait of successful people? We find success in the situation, not the fault itself. Okay? So being able to look at we already know there's a problem. Potentially, realistically, that is already said and done. But be ahead, Danica, and everyone else. Let's not focus on what the problem is. Let's focus on the solution. Let's focus on how we can fix and adjust as it is forming, and if it has already formed, what is something that we can do to mitigate this issue, whether it's in front of the client, after the client has left, or within the team dynamic? How can we solve for this? We know there's a problem. Let's get that solution in there. Let's find out what we can do to resolve this issue. So to your point, blaming others, it's just, you might as well, it's like blaming others is like poisoning yourself. You're handing off the blame when in fact, if you guys are working as a team, everyone's going to get dinged. And if you're blaming other ones, you're deflecting actually, when you deflect, you're actually shining your weaknesses, your limitations, your ability or inability to be a team player all on yourself. So with that being said, when Mike, he took it upon himself, and I wouldn't say it was necessarily falling on a sword for the team, but he's taking accountability.
Yes.
For his team. He's responsible because overall, it's not about individual success, it's about team success. And when the team wins, that's how you can move forward on. So it's definitely a trait of successful people to be able to look beyond the present issue for a future solution.
Yeah, that's definitely good points there, guys. So this question is so wide ranging, and the first thing that comes to mind, obviously, with everybody is your team members on your immediate team. What if it's not your team members within your own company that made a mistake? What if it's multiple third parties that are working together for a solution on one customer? You have to do the same thing in that situation. I'll use an example from the hotel industry. When we're developing hotels, it's obviously not one person in one company that's bringing this whole thing to fruition. You got the hotel ownership company, you have the general contractor, you got the city inspector, you got the engineer, you got the architect, you have the person from Hilton or Marriott, you have this person, that person, this person, and every single person has their finger in something in some way, shape, or form. And depending on how it's being looked at, the ownership company might be the customer for this group of people delivering something. And then the ownership group is part of the people delivering something for the brand along with everybody else. So everybody is each other's customer.
Yeah.
In a sense. And when somebody does something wrong, that's when it becomes a difficult. But you handle it the exact same way. You handle it the exact same way. If I am in a meeting and the ownership company that I represent had no fault in the situation, but the general contractor did, and we're speaking to Hilton or Marriott, I'm not going to say, yeah, the general contractor screwed this up, it's all their fault. I'm going to say, you're right, this wasn't done right, let us find a solution. And then go back, and then I go talk to the general contractor in the trailer. I'm like, look, here's what just happened. We got to figure this out. But when you're dealing with the customer or with the client or with the boss or with the fellow employees, you don't throw anyone under the bus.
Never.
You don't toss blame around. And I keep going back to hotels as examples, but it's a great breeding ground for examples for things like this. Imagine how many complaints the front desk at a hotel gets. Does that person go, oh, yeah, you're right, that was Joe in maintenance that didn't do his job? No. The front desk apologizes to the guest, accepts responsibility, takes the blame, finds a solution.
Yeah, right.
It's the same thing. There's always an opportunity to do this, no matter what your role is. But that's a really good question. Taking ownership and not. I mean, there is a place for pointing out who was at fault.
Yeah,
that's behind the scenes, back in the office when you're after you've found the solution.
Yeah,
there's always a place for that. It's just like in the I'm not going to go down this path. All right.
But you can see how it reflects. So unfortunately, I can't believe this happened. A nurse made a medical error, which happens. In the U.S., medical errors are the third leading cause of death. I'm going to say this again. Medical errors are the third leading cause of death. A nurse accidentally made a medical error and was charged with homicide and put in prison. Last week, the American Hospital Association came out, American Medical Association, American Nursing Association. We all saw it and were horrified. Now, just the implementation of that, just things happen. How many people become nurses now? I wouldn't.
No.
Now I'm going to work hard hours and I have to risk going to prison. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
So, where was that hospital and looking out for? Where are those doctors and nurses looking out for that person? Look, mistakes were made. We realize mistakes were made. We won't be making this mistake again. We've implemented these processes to not do it again. But this is not criminal. You need thousands of people fighting that. So you need to be there. And I'm going to pick Abigail. I'm going to pick you because you're fantastic. I know you well, real well, and you know exactly how much I respect you. So if Chow was mean to you, which she wouldn't be, it'd be my fault. And I'd be over there apologizing to Abigail. Now, Chow doesn't know how to be mean at all.
No.
Chow is like a special magical person, and I'm so lucky she agreed to join us. But she's magical in every way. And she would never be mean to Abigail. But if she was, Abigail would be calling me saying, hey, wait, what's the problem? And I'd say, I'm sorry, somehow I'll fix this. Because it's just life. When you're the owner, when you're the CEO, it comes back to you when you're the leader. And SEALs do that. Military people do that. They are very, very firm. They own their leadership.
Accountability. Yeah. Yeah. And look at it also. Say, for instance, Chris brought up a very interesting point. If someone is placing blame or they're passing the buck around in another department, you can own that. That's an opportunity for leadership. Not only can you say, I'll own this, you're cross-training, you're accepting responsibility, you're creating an environment of teamwork, and that does not go unnoticed. You're saying, even though it had nothing to do with me, it's not my department, maybe it's not even my skill set, I'm willing to go above and beyond, learn a new skill, take the time to do it while doing my own job so that I can mitigate an issue, not for them, but for the good of the company, because you're looking at it from a larger scale than just your immediate sphere of influence. So that's something to also think about.
Yeah. Got it. So, yeah, I think it's just really important. We need to own things. We need to be responsible for things. We need to be, if you're the leader, you're there. And you know what, though? So, Alonzo, you take one for the team this time. And does everybody on the team respect you more?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
it's happened to me too. Definitely. If I'm a team lead and something goes wrong and I finger you and say, you did this, Mike, it's not my fault, they're going to lose respect for you. No one's going to want to work with you. You're going to be considered a risk for the company because you won't accept responsibility. You only find the problem and you're not working to find a solution. So when you think you're absolving yourself of any blame or any accountability, you're actually heaping tenfold of issues upon yourself by not being, as Chris said, honorable, being altruistic and looking out for your fellow teammate, and a lot of other things that we have mentioned before. So there's no shortcuts. There's no shortcut. There's no way out of putting in the time, putting in the focus, putting in the sacrifices, putting in the thought of looking at others as a part of yourself to be a successful leader.
But it all goes back.
Sorry.
I was going to say, but we really have to go back to emotional intelligence and empathy at all times. I saw a comment that I find particularly offensive. Nurses risk their life every single day. They get, they risk getting diseases. They risk getting patients. I've had patients try to strangle me before. Thankfully, I'm a good martial artist. To say that somebody is overpaid in the U.S., I think nurses are grossly underpaid. But I don't like to make judgments on other people's careers because I don't know what other people do.
Yep.
I have no idea what a construction worker does all day. I don't know what they should be paid because I'm not a construction worker.
Yep.
And you know what? Unless you're a nurse, you don't know what a nurse does. And to make a judgment on what somebody should be paid, that's something else. If I told you that a nurse, it was very common for people to try and punch me, hit me with baseball bats, spit at me, vomit at me, and stab me with dirty needles, that's life. And, I didn't work as a nurse for a reason. I didn't like it. I hated it. And I felt like, wow, if I have to work this hard for this, oh, no, this is not a career. And I was able to go to tech and make 3 to 5 times more money to do nothing other than configure and design some routers. I felt like I was paid so much to do nothing in tech. And I see network engineers complaining about doctors. And I'm like, why? You're earning more than they are. And they went to school, spent $250,000 at it in 7 years of their life. And I trained you in 3 months. So, there's that. So I think we have to look at other people and we have to have respect for all people in all careers. And everybody deserves to earn a living and everybody deserves to be respected. And part of empathy is seeing things from another person's perspective. And that is the most critical tenet of it. So I would never say that a police officer is too overpaid or underpaid. I'm not a police officer. I don't live their life. And I can't judge someone else. But my last thing is being non-judgmental. You know what? I've been in medicine. I've been in nursing. I've been in real life. You never know what's really going on. You have no idea. I've had patients that were dying for certain reasons. In fact, when I was in nursing school, I was dealing with a string of drug addicts. I dealt with like 10 drug addicts. 2 of them tried to kill me while they were in the hospital. And I said to my professor, I said, please don't give me another drug addict. I don't want another dirty person that's going to try and kill me. I want another cardiology patient. And here's what the professor said. He said, why don't you want the drug addicts? I said, they made stupid mistakes to get themselves here. And they keep trying to kill me. And then the professor said, Mike, you like the cardiology patients. Why are they here? I said, well, they ate wrong. They didn't exercise. They smoked. And she said, so wait, didn't they bring that on themselves too? And I said, And she says, you have a bad shoulder, right, Mike? And I said, yeah. She said, how did you get that? I said, from clean and jerks and snatches from Olympic weightlifting. She said, did you do that to yourself? And I said, yes, I did. And let me tell you, the next drug addict that walked in the room, I was empathetic. And I said, how did you get here? It was a regular person that had a sad story. And you know what? Same for the next person. You know how many people I helped along the way? You can't judge people. You don't know.
Right. Yeah, that I saw. Yeah, I wasn't going to acknowledge that comment. But that let me go pull up my soapbox here. So there's a whole rabbit hole with that. That's whether it be judging or respecting an individual or judging or respecting an entire group of people. That it's just, I didn't mention respect because I just thought of it. I mentioned honor, but the left hand is honor, the right hand is respect, I guess. But yeah, it goes back to, like you said, emotional intelligence, I guess. Having a non-judgmentalness, and just like you said, I know I've done that in the past as well, but learned from it. So hopefully this is a learning situation as well.
Yeah. But really, it's about respecting others regardless of their backgrounds. We all have something special. And we all come from a different perspective. And someone born in one place that's taught one thing growing up, and someone born in another place might think of things differently. If they grew up in the same city, they might think the same way. So, so we just got to respect and love each other. Every one of us has something to offer. It really doesn't matter where. We all have something to offer. It's really weird. I used to travel 300,000 plus miles a year talking about architectures and doing thought leaderships and speaking at conferences. That was kind of normal. And 200,000 miles of it was on Continental. I don't know why, but because at Cisco, they had a rule. We had to buy full fare tickets because we used to change them every day so that we could change them at a moment's notice. So I got upgraded to first class on every flight. Now, I really didn't realize this. On the first time that happened, there was some guy that was next to me that was so rude. And he was like so nasty to the flight attendant that I stepped in and said, Sir, sounds like you're having a bad day. How can I help? Ma'am, thank you so much for your service. I left and she handed me a bottle of wine, the flight attendant, and she said, you're the only person that's been nice to me all week. Wow. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, you're the only person that was decent to me. I got on the next plane. Again, I'm getting another bottle of wine. And I'm like, how can you be disrespectful? Do you know when I hired people and I worked at a big company, I used to do the following. I'd have them meet the receptionist and I would ask the receptionist, how did they treat you? Then I would interview them. If I liked them, I would take them to lunch. I would politely excuse myself and I would see how they would speak to the bus people and the food servers. If they treated them with respect and dignity, I wanted them on my team. But if they were nice to me, mean to my receptionist because they thought that I was important, but they weren't, I would never hire that person. Because that's somebody's character to me. And I really feel like everybody deserves equal respect and care and love.
Yeah.
We all have more skills. Society has determined, for whatever reason, that designing cloud architecture pays more than practicing medicine or practicing law. I'm appreciating I benefit from that, but that's the way society's determined it, not me. But I'm not here to judge good, better, and different. I just want to make the world a better place.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring that up. So the flip side of that, with the flight attendant and the other passenger, is one of the things that I really focused on training employees in the hotel industry was that you don't know what the person that's checking in has gone through before they got to you.
Exactly.
So they may be short, they may be rude, they may be abrupt, they may be angry, but you don't know what they've been through because they've been obviously they've been traveling all day to get to you. So you don't know whatever they present to you is not directed at you.
Right.
So like I said, it's a interesting, it's a completely different dynamic and completely different perspective, but it's not one that a lot of people think about.
Yeah.
Because it's not everybody's been in that position, but it's a good point of view to take. You don't know what someone else has gone through. Yeah. So the majority of the time, the way people react to you or interact with you probably has nothing to do with
nothing.
Exactly. Nothing in any way, shape, or form.
Unless you directly said, hey, you're stupid. And then they got mad at you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a case in point. This happened over the summer. And I was back in my hometown visiting relatives, and my son wanted some fast food. He wanted a burger. And the server, she was, I said, well, I'm ready to order. She was not happy, to say the least. She did not have a good day. And I thought about it, and I'm saying, you think about what they're going through. Okay, this is during the pandemic. This is an essential worker trying to service hundreds or thousands of people with a short staff. And she's probably been doing on her feet for maybe 10 or 12 hours. So you think about, like you said, you have wants and needs based on what this person is offering or what you expect them to do their job for. But it's sometimes you have to think about how their day was. How can you provide service as they service you? It's an interchange of relationship. It's an interchange of, like, say for instance, if I like the UPS, my wife, she is a professional shopper. And UPS or FedEx could come to our house, on any day of the week. And you think about where these people have to go over a specific limited time frame to get all these packages done. What I do, it's not everybody, and it's not to boast or anything else, but sometimes I'll offer them some water, a cold bottle of water. Do you want some water? And most of the time they'll say no, but they said, thank you for offering. And it's not about what I did, but it's about how you can help others when they're trying to help you. It's symbiotic in a way. It's helping one another. It's being altruistic. helping so that you can be beneficial to them so that they can be beneficial to others. So there's always an opportunity there, whether it's at your job or at home. It's a good practicing standard of living so that you can incorporate it in all walks of life for you to be successful.
Yeah.
I think it's about how you make others feel.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
Yeah. So I know we've talked about this a lot. I got one more story that I want to share, but we do need to wrap up and get to some of the questions. Let me know if y'all are okay with me sharing another story. It's
I'd
not
love you to
hotel
share
related,
another
I
story,
promise.
Chris.
It's not hotel related, I promise.
Even if it was, we can all learn from other things.
So one of my most frustrating personal experiences over the past 2 years was also one of the most profound examples of constraint and emotional intelligence that I've ever seen. So, and Alonzo talking about food service, and then seeing Chow's message about, that I think everyone should work as a good server to understand how to respect and appreciate people better.
Mm-hmm.
It made me think about this situation. And so I went to a Popeyes, which is a fast food chain. I'm not sure how international it is, but it's a fast food chain. And I went to a Popeyes, and this Popeyes had 3 employees working. And if anybody knows anything about restaurants, fast food, anything, 3 employees running a restaurant of any kind is near impossible, because this place has a drive-through, it has a front counter, and then it has an entire kitchen. So, and then it's got a lobby, and then it's got restrooms. So 3 people running a restaurant at 7 p.m. at night on a Friday. These people were working nonstop, did not stop moving, constantly, like just constantly doing, whether it's the front desk, the drive-through, the chicken in the fryer, the chicken in the warmer, the batter, battering the chicken, and doing all the sides, going out to the storage. That, like, 3 people were doing everything. That normally, I think there's probably about 10 or 11 people there that are working, and that's probably on a slow night. But they were doing everything. It was taking quite a long time, obviously, because there's only 3 employees. I understood that. I knew. I'm like, okay, there's 3 people, not a big deal. There was another customer who was a DoorDash driver or an Uber driver or something that was there to pick up the order. It was taking too long. So their DoorDash or Uber was taking too long. And they were getting complaints, I guess, from the customer that they were supposed to be delivering to. They are yelling at the employees who have not stopped working. And the employees are acknowledging them as nice as they can while they're being yelled at, while they're continuously working. She's not satisfied with this, so she proceeds to call the corporate office. The corporate office then calls the restaurant. And the phone doesn't stop ringing.
Now
because
it's worse.
these 3 employees are literally just constantly working. What normally would take like 5 or 6 minutes for an order is taking 25 or 30 minutes, just because of the nature of only 3 employees working. So they've got someone yelling at them. The same person that's yelling at them has now got their corporate office calling. And now that person's yelling about, why are you not answering the phone? And I'm just watching these people like in a horror, like, I can't believe they're going through this. Like, I can't believe that they're going through this. And they're going through it. They haven't walked out. They haven't left. And this person, I turn to the person and I say, you do realize that if they stopped to answer the phone, you would continue to yell at them about it taking too long, because now they're answering the phone. And they just looked at me, just kind of confused. And I said, have you seen them stop working? And they said, No. I was like, okay, have they been on their phone? No. Have they been talking to each other? No. Have they sat down?
Right.
No. And they hung up the phone. then they just went and sat down. But it's the emotional, whatever those people had behind the counter took a lot. And I know that they probably never hear this or see this, but Pinellas Park, Florida, Popeye's employees from 6 months ago. You guys are awesome.
And that's the thing, we never know. So if you'd never seen there and just did pickup and didn't see that there were 3 people, oh my God, the service is terrible.
Right.
But if you realize it, like I checked into a hotel in Georgia last year, right after the shutdown, because the first day my wife and I thought, oh, this is the only one that's open. So we go there, we go to check in, and nobody's opening the door. And then we're at the desk for 15 minutes. And then I call the hotel. The one woman comes down and she says, oh, I'm the only employee here.
Yep.
And she said, well, I have to make a clean room for you. And, I got to realize what it was. It was an impossible position she was in.
Yeah.
Impossible. One person running a hotel. But that's the point. I wouldn't have known that. If she didn't tell me, I'd think she was terrible.
Yep.
But she wasn't. She was doing the best she could.
So anyway, like I said, I don't know if that share was related in any kind of way, but
But I think it's a good example to just not judge things because we never have all the facts.
Yeah. So let's get to some of the things that I've seen in the chat box over here. We might have browbeaten some people with some of our stories here, but there's plenty of good things out there. Let's see. So, I like this comment here.
I love that, Abigail. And Abigail has a cat, Noni, which is the most beautiful cat. Oh my God, it's beautiful. Cat hired.
So Ayuk asks this question: what are some of the effective ways of nurturing your emotional intelligence?
That's a good one.
Definitely let you take that one, Mike.
That's a really great question. So Ayuk, emotional intelligence is about controlling your emotions and managing someone else's emotions. So the first part of it is managing our own emotions.
Yeah.
Personally, I practice yoga every single day. Chris will call me, did you practice yoga yet today? Because he knows I'm nicer when I practice yoga. And he knows I'm calmer and I think better and I'm smarter that way too. So I practice yoga, but you could use yoga to calm down. There's meditation skills to calm down. Hey, when some people are stressed, I've got a friend and she likes to go into a closet, close the door and scream. But if it calms her down, that's okay. The key is finding an acceptable way to calm you down. Now, the next side of it is, how do you control your emotions? Well, to control your emotions, you have to control your thoughts. So when you have a negative thought, the key is to take a negative thought and replace it with a positive thought. So I put Alonzo on an Aerodyne bike. I tell him that he has to pedal and use his arms at 600 watts. He's trying. He's maintaining this 600 watts. He's in pain. And somehow internally he decides to take a few deep breaths and he decides to say, I can do this for 10 seconds longer. And when he accomplishes that 10 seconds, I can do this for 10 seconds longer. When he accomplishes that, I can do it for 10 seconds longer. He can continue to go because here's what happens. Every 10 seconds, he gets a thought that says, I can't do this anymore. And he changes that thought to, it's only 10 more seconds. I can go 10 more seconds. 10 seconds later, I want to quit. It's only 10 seconds. I can do 10 more seconds. So he's controlling his negative thought with a positive thought. This is taught to all military units, all special force units, and it's taught to all people where being capable and focused at the time is critical. They're all taught this, whether it's tactical breathing or box breathing, but people are always taught to stay in the fight. Now, the second side of controlling your thoughts is knowing that there's 10 negative thoughts all humans make. The beginning of this study started with Albert Ellis, which was followed up by David Burns, and these are the bases of cognitive behavior therapy. Daniel Iman's been doing some good work here as well. Cognitive behavior therapy is based upon the assumption that we all make 10 of the same mistakes, every one of us. So let's say I was in sales and I had to sell this beautiful router. I went to the first person, they didn't want it. I went to the second person, they didn't want it. I went to the third person, they didn't want it. To the fourth person, they didn't want it. And now I predict in the future, when I go to this fifth person, they're not going to buy it. Is that logical? No. Why is it logical? I'm predicting the future. So, it's those kind of things. It's all or nothing. So there are people that think that they can't get everything, they have nothing. Well, that's not true. $1 million is great, but if you can't get $1 million, $500,000 is still good. And if you can't get $500,000, 300,000 is still good. And if you can't get 300,000, 200,000 is good. And even if you only get 500, it's still better than nothing. So there's never all or nothing thinking. But the point is there's 10 really common thinking errors. They're called cognitive distortions. You can look them up on Google, the 10 cognitive distortions humans make. And we believe understanding that is absolutely critical because you must control your thoughts and your emotions. So take a negative thought, energetic with a positive thought, but also check the rationality of your thoughts. So is it rational? Is it not rational? The best example is DirecTV made a commercial. I think it was DirecTV. It could have been Dish Network. And it said, don't have cable or you'll get divorced. And then you would have the guy and his cable was missing a single channel. So he called the cable company to get cable and they doubled his bill, which agitated his wife. So then he had a fight with his wife. So then he had to buy her a gift, which he didn't like the gift. The next thing you know, she moves out and they say, don't get cable or you'll be getting divorced. And it was the most ridiculous sort of thing, but they put one stupid thing to another stupid thing to another stupid thing to another stupid thing to another stupid thing. And then they did it for your kids. Don't want your kids to go to jail? Don't get cable. On cable, there's nothing to watch. On TV, with DirecTV, keep them at home. They'll have access to this thing, this thing, this thing. They won't be out. They won't be doing this. They won't be smoking drugs, which won't turn into this, which won't be turning into this, which won't turn into this, and then your kid's not in jail. And it was crazy, but that was the point. Do you guys remember those commercials? And
sure do.
And that's really, these aren't logical thoughts, but I know people that have this all the time. I know some people, and these are the people that I say, when you're ready to get to your goals, let me know. There are some people that say, Mike, I want to be a cloud architect. And I say, great. And they say, but I'm not one. And I say, well, we all got to start somewhere. And they say, well, if you train me, will I learn? And I say, of course. And then they say, but if I learn, I have to take a certification exam. And I say, so no big deal. You can take a certification exam to get some paperwork. But then I'm going to have to study. And I say, well, you can study, but I don't want to study. And I'm like, if you don't want to study, don't. But no matter what it is, you can find there are people that will make an excuse to the 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 excuse why they can't win. Guess what? Don't even try at that point. Fix the mind. And that's part of emotional intelligence, is knowing that you can win or not win. But really, it's about being open-minded. If I have a problem and I ask Chris, I need the truth. I don't need nonsense.
Oh, you'll get the truth.
Right.
Yeah, I heard some of that truth last week.
And you see that. Now, if I created an environment where Chris couldn't tell me the truth because of fear of being judged, would he tell me the truth? Probably not. And if he didn't,
you wouldn't have a Chris.
Well, first I wouldn't have a Chris, but even if I did, because some people would stay because they need to work, but let's say that, would you ever really give me any information, or would my business fall apart because I wouldn't know anything? You just tell me everything is great.
Oh yeah. You wouldn't be we wouldn't be on YouTube right now.
Yeah, but that's the point.
We wouldn't be able to do it. You wouldn't have done. Yeah, you're right.
Anything. But if I don't have an environment where I'm open-minded, Chris will be uncomfortable telling me the truth. I need Chris to say, I messed this up. Not that he messes anything up, but I need that. Why do I need to know that? So I know we can find problems and identify them. I need that. And I need to be able to call Chris and say, I messed this up. It's my fault. Fix it. Help me fix it, because I don't know what to do. But you don't have any of that if you can't be open-minded. And if people are afraid, they can't be open-minded. Alonzo and I've had all kinds of conversations about anything. And I'm not afraid because I know Alonzo. But that's the key. You have to be open-minded. And, if somebody tells you, look, I think that I'm a green cat and I like a purple mug, let them have their green cat and purple mug. Who cares? Just let people be their thing. Don't judge them for their thing. They won't judge you for yours. I promise you, every one of us is nuts in some way. There's not a person that I have met that isn't crazy about something. My wife has 500 pairs of shoes. She's not crazy, but that's her thing. I spent my life in martial arts and things like that. That was my thing. Doesn't matter. Let's get some questions in here.
Yeah, let's get the next question in here. So the next question is there any connection between cloud technology and metaverse?
Well, here's the thing. The metaverse needs to ride on servers, storage. It needs load balancers. It needs firewalls, VPN concentrators, IDS, IPS systems, block storage, object storage, and file storage. Now, Abhishek Sarkar, that could be in a data center or it could be in a cloud provider. So the reality is cloud technology has nothing to do with anything. All cloud technology is at the data center where we can put our stuff to enable all these other business things. Mm-hmm. So if I wanted to play videotapes or videos like Netflix, I could put it in the data center or the cloud. It doesn't matter. If I wanted to have a medical application, I could put it in the data center or the cloud. It doesn't matter. All the cloud is a place to store the stuff, like you would a traditional data center.
Yeah.
But most likely it'll be on the cloud because that's the modern data center.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by the metaverse, but I feel like I've already dealt with the metaverse back when I used to play Second Life. Mm-hmm. Like way back when I played it for like a week, and then everybody else was still playing it because I was like, "What?"
Yeah, I had my moments as a gamer way back in the day without dating myself, but yeah.
I remember I was in the innovation group at Cisco, the Internet Business Solutions group, where we'd craft all the big solutions and all the innovation would occur. So everybody was playing on it. And they're like, Mike, you got to get on this. I said, a virtual world? And they said, yeah, you get to live a different life. I said, I'd like to improve my life here. I said, would you like to do some yoga? And they were like, I don't want to do yoga. And I'd say, I don't want to live inside of a virtual world. I like to live in the physical world.
Hey, so, Mike, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm just looking at the ladies. They're talking about their shoes. And my wife, she loves shoes. So I was thinking, I thought it would be really cool if the ladies got together and maybe created some sort of automated women's shoe distribution architecture, and they can kind of share it with everyone. I think that would be a pretty cool, fun thing that you guys could probably do.
Hey, I actually think our students don't leave me out. I want some flip flops in here.
Want some flip flops?
Not just the ladies.
Flip flops.
Actually, if there was a shoe exchange, I bet you it would do really well.
Yeah.
I know where to get about 800 really capable cloud architects.
Yeah.
So I saw a really good question, and I know Alonzo's got a hard stop at the top of the hour, so I want to make sure we get this in before it's just Mike and myself. So, because I want to get your perspective on this as well. So this was a good question. Is emotional intelligence related to wearing multiple hats for the team?
Oh, yeah. Tell it, Mike.
Well, yes and no, and here's what I mean.
Yeah, yes and no. Yeah,
it's not that it's not that it helps you wear multiple hats, but what happens is if you have to wear multiple hats, you can never do it alone. So when you have the emotional intelligence, and one day you're the presenter, and the next day you're the manager, and the next day you're the sales rep, it's a whole lot easier when you can bring in the right people and you have the emotional intelligence to do it. So at least in that matter. How about you, Alonzo, and then Chris?
I'm thinking, say for instance, you got a startup, and we're all wearing different hats.
Oh.
So you have
the hats got thrown out the window.
Yeah.
I got tired of switching.
So say for instance, executive level, then you're dealing with the engineers, and say for instance, you're dealing with anyone who has more boots on the ground than anyone. So say for instance, you have actual salespeople, and you think about all the hats that you have to wear to communicate with the executive team, with the engineers. Everyone has to have a different level of detail, a different level of emotional intelligence, a different level of how you can communicate and disseminate this information to those different various levels. So being able to be in control of your emotional intelligence. Okay, you're dealing with a group of people in the executive team, executive suite. They're in charge of 7, 8, 9, maybe 10-figure budgets, they might be a little stressed out. They may be a little succinct in how they communicate with you, because a lot's on the line: reputation, money, stakeholders, and the lot versus the engineers. They need more detailed, very detailed information, without any of the fluff, but very straightforward and succinct understanding of what needs to happen to RTE or run the engine. And then you have the salespeople. You have to deal with them in a congenial way, because the same way you're dealing with them, you're expecting them to deal with the actual customers who want your products or anything else. So you have those different layers that you have to be ready to switch on, switch off, accelerate, deaccelerate, and be able to change it up as necessary so that everyone can have a full understanding of what you're positioning in your communication. But that's just my spin on it. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, so I think it's important if we're gonna have if we're gonna have the discussion about this question, we need to have an understanding and agreement on what it means to wear a hat.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
If we're saying that emotional intelligence is related to having a deep enough understanding about different hats,
yeah,
to be able to work and empathize and communicate effectively with the other people on your team, then yes, I agree that it's about wearing multiple hats.
Yeah.
But if we're saying that is emotional intelligence related to knowing how to do every single aspect of that hat's job, then
no.
So
you can't do it all, and nor should you try.
And I think that's what you were saying, Alonzo and Mike, is that yes, wearing multiple hats as it relates to knowing about these areas.
Yeah.
You have to know enough about the area, about these different parts of the team to be able to be effective in your role. Even if it's not a manager role, but just a part of a team, you need to be familiar enough with the rest of the team.
Yes.
And their responsibilities.
Right.
To be effective.
Yeah.
Whether it be dealing with a customer who is unhappy with the way something has gone, or dealing with your manager who is wondering why this piece of the puzzle hasn't been done. And it's not your piece, but you need to know enough about that piece to be able to discuss it or understand it at a high level, not a deep level.
Very true.
Thoughts on that?
Chris, I actually think that's such an important topic about how to do this and how to relate well to others and how to problem solve and how emotional intelligence is related to that. I think one day we should, and how to use that successfully. I'm even willing to dedicate a whole session to it.
That would be fun.
Yeah. Hey, hint, hint. We might have something for class Friday, guys. Let me go back to the questions here. So Robert has asked, Mike, are you familiar with the book Extreme Ownership? It's written by a couple of former SEAL team members, and they relate their experiences to business. It's a good read.
You know,
that's Jocko Willnick's book and Leaf Bond's book. Yeah,
I did read that. You're right, I did. I forgot I actually read that. I didn't think I did because I don't read as many books as I'd like to because I'm constantly doing other things. But I've always grown up. I've had a lot of SEALs as patients. I've had a lot of SEALs as friends. I've had a lot of Force Recon Marines as friends and MARSOC Marines as friends and Delta Force people and Green Berets and snipers from the Army as well. So I've lived in this world forever, and it rubs off on you. The integrity, the honor code, the discipline, the never quitting, the attention to detail, the adapt, improvise, overcome from this world. That's where I kind of got it from there in martial arts. So yeah, Robert, any kind of the work you ever see that are written from SEALs and special operations warriors, these people are so smart and have seen so much. They always have great lessons to learn.
Yeah.
Mark Devine has some very good lessons as well with regards to mental toughness.
So we don't. There's not any more questions right now. So I think it's time to ask everybody where they're from.
Yeah,
I always like to see where.
I love finding out where people are.
Yeah, so I always like to know where people are from, and I think that'll be a good way to end tonight's show. So
It's interesting. Americans ask people, "What do you do?" and Europeans ask people, "Where are you from?"
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
And I have to get together on the Slack channel. There's some people in the Houston, Katy area.
Yeah, there are.
We will. Whoever's out there, let's reach out. Let's try to find some time this month. If not, then first of next month, let's have coffee. Let's sit down and have lunch. Everyone can have lunch together, and I'd love to meet people. So yeah, if that's possible, let's get it going.
I might just throw the people from the San Antonio Austin meetup channel in there with you.
Might as well.
I don't know how far away. I know Texas is huge, but
it's pretty far away. But yeah,
it's
still
about 4 hours. But I'd be very, very honored if they would do that. But we'll make it happen one way or the other. Fort Myers. I heard some
like that. That's not too far away. I'm really loving this. I'm looking at this. Robert's in New Jersey. I've lived there. The other Robert's in Phoenix. Haven't been there in a while. Yosef is in DC. Yeah. Shukran for being here. Abhishek is in Fort Myers. Fantastic. Bangalore, India. I need to get there as well as Mysore. It's been too long. Bristol, fantastic. I'm assuming that means UK. Bay Area, California. Austin, Texas. Eric Gill. Wow.
All right, Eric. You coming down, Eric?
Yeah, so I'm down here in St. Petersburg, Florida. So that's
Leo's in Brazil.
Leo, I always wanted to go to Brazil. I have not had a chance to go.
I was supposed to go to Sao Paulo for a wedding, and I got really sick and avoided it about 10 years ago, which was a shame because I would have visited Leo at the same time. JFK's over there in London. Yeah, Eric, come down here.
I want to get down to London. I heard London is a lot of fun. Okay.
Fantastic.
Okay. We all got to get together and go eat.
And I forgot about this. So this weekend, we had people from the DC area meet up in Georgetown.
Fantastic.
Oh, that's so cool.
I love seeing this. Oh, we have someone in Cameroon right now. I'm so happy you're here, and it's pretty late. Wow. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
In Costa Rica, from Danka, she's from there.
Danka, that's great. Costa Rica's a beautiful place.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, Tracy down in Houma, Louisiana. For any of you that don't know where that is, the very, 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 very bottom of Louisiana.
Okay.
Like very, very.
Like right by the ocean?
Tracy, thank you. You reached out to me on LinkedIn. I haven't had a chance to reach out.
She's fantastic. She's one of our wonderful students.
Yeah.
Chow's over there in Dallas. We got to get you to Palm Beach like the rest of us.
Yeah, and Byron's in Miami.
Okay, Henry. Oh, wow, we got someone, Henry. Henry, Mipos Katalavas Elinika. Amamilas Elinika, Yasu. Or, if you speak English, that works too. See, in Cyprus, he's either most likely Greek or Turkish. Either case is great. But I only speak Greek.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, one day we're going to have to.
Yeah, we got to do a Florida meetup.
Okay, Ix he's in Houston. I wonder what part of Houston. It's a huge place. I'm closer to the Katy area.
Yeah. So, do we have anything that we want to close out on, Mike?
Yeah, I think what we'll tell you is, when it comes down to it, we all have different things that we found to be helpful, but not all of us will say honesty, integrity, treating people well, working hard, not judging anyone, and being emotionally intelligent and empathetic and really trying to treat others well. I think any of us would agree that these things have helped us be successful. Any last words from either of you?
Well, I think we touched on a lot of great points. We socialized a lot of great content. and concepts about how to be successful. So it's really good for you all to even go into the Slack channels and socialize this again, so that if you guys have any other ideas, we'd love to hear about them as well. So, but yeah, we've had some great conversations as always with Chris and Mike. So yeah.
And I'll only add that we always want to hear our ideas for these sessions and these episodes come from you guys.
Yeah.
So email your ideas, and I just put the wrong email address in there. So email your ideas to the one that's on the screen, not the chat box. So,
yeah, so Sarintha, that's a really good one. So if you wanted to send that in, we'll definitely cover it.
Yeah. Empathy. Yep. Yeah, that's going to be a good one. But I enjoy really. I love our podcast. I love having our conversations and just talking. It's a joy. I look forward to it every week.
I do. It's fun for me because this is a chance for us to be ourselves and really connect with a lot of our students here. Lots of other wonderful people here. We're just thrilled. I mean, we've got people in Cameroon to Washington D.C. to Bangalore, India. That's just awesome.
Yeah.
That's you guys are taking time out of your busy schedules, and you're up. You have probably children, spouses, or just things to do, and you spend your time with us. And time is something that's given, and it can't be given back. So we appreciate every second that you guys tune in.
Yes, I mean, especially it's 2 a.m. in Cameroon right now. Wow. I have to do the math to get to IST. So, we're really honored. Anybody that wants to be with us anytime, we're just thrilled and honored. So it's our privilege to be here with you. And I love that we're all, Melbourne, Australia. Wow, there you go. That's a place that I've spent a lot of time in, consulting to the Victorian government.
India is like 5 a.m. right now. I don't know what Australia. So Australia, well, I guess Australia is a reasonable time. It must be like midday over there.
Yeah, it's starting to get more reasonable there. Oh my God, I spent so much time in Brisbane and so much time in Melbourne and so much time in Sydney. I've always loved going over there.
Yeah. All right, Mike. So I'm going to leave it to you to close us out and take this show home, so that we can let everybody go back to whatever it is they're doing to better themselves.
Well, bettering everybody's selves, 5:32 a.m. in Bangalore. So, wow, thank you for being here. And I'm not even sure when you got here. You're up very early in the morning. So thank you all for being here. Please join us for the free AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate training. It's not going to be a regular Certified Solution Architect training. We'll get much deeper than that. We'll talk about some BGP, who knows, things that you really need to know. So we'll make it a really fun and learning experience. And we'll talk about some architectural things as well. So please register for that boot camp. It's going to be on the 12th to the 16th. Please download our free AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional book. Prior to that, it's free. Get you all the, make sure you come on Thursday, which is 2 days from now, to our How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. If you haven't, so I want to make sure that we give you the skills that you're on with and you know exactly how to get cloud hired. And heck, if you want to train with us and really build a great cloud architect career, and the result of our training is cloud hired, others focus on certification, but our people get hired in the end and they stay with us until they're hired. Guess what? We'd love to coach you. We have 30% off of all of our programs. So I hope you all had a really great time tonight. I know I did. I know I'm here with my brother Alonzo, my CEO Chris, and it's been a really great time for us. So thank you so much and look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Bye, everybody.
Have a good, enjoy your evenings, days, mornings, wherever you are. Enjoy it.